Okay, morning everybody. Welcome back, former Farm Kid channel. Today we're talking about the unit circle. So here is a visual depiction of that. Why do we call it a unit circle? Because this measurement from the origin to this point right here is 1 unit. So if I had to put a coordinate point right here, it would be 1, 0. So if that is 1, it means the radius is 1. It means all the way around here it's 1 unit. So this would be 0, 1 up here. This would be negative 1, 0. This would be 0, negative 1. And as I'm sure you all remember from 8th grade math, quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. So in discussing the unit circle, there's a couple things we need to be aware of. One of these may be new. Chances are you've heard it, but the other one you undoubtedly do know. Pretty much at this point, you know that in one complete circle, there are 360 degrees. So in half the circle, there would be 180, and we could go and divvy it up by force as well. I don't think that's necessary here. So today, we're going to talk about how do I derive this degree measurement. And generally speaking, on tests and quizzes, we get something similar to this. And this came from a class that I tutor in. And basically, this teacher is asking for this degree right here, how many degrees that is, what is the radian measure, and what is the coordinate point. This first part, or part 1 of this video, is only going to cover calculating the degree and the radians. We'll save this one for later in part 2. They're both really, really easy to do. You do need to remember, though, one measurement, basically, something like this. So if I take the x-axis, I'm going to want to remember that all these degree measurements are based on 30 degrees off the x-axis. All of them. They're just going to have different measurements, obviously, because they're in different portions of the circle. So if I can remember this, my first measurement is going to be 30 degrees off the x-axis. And by the way, we are always going counterclockwise in the unit circle. And then, after remembering 30 degrees, I'm going to keep either adding or subtracting 15 degrees to that. By knowing this right here, I can give measurements to every single angle that is asked for here. So let's just do the first quadrant. 30 degrees off the x-axis going counterclockwise, well, my first angle would be 30 degrees. Now I'm going to, in this quadrant, because I'm going this way, I'm going to add 15 to that. Actually, I'm going to be adding 15 all the way around. I shouldn't say that. I am going to be subtracting in one quadrant. Yeah, we'll talk about that. So anyway, so 30 plus 15 is 45. 45 plus 15 is 60. So now I have my first 3 in degrees. It also asks for the radian measure. Well, radians, and at this point, chances are you've been shown what a radian measure is. It is the length of circumference from this point to, let's say, 30. So it would be this length right here. And when we're dealing with a unit circle, for the most part, in college in particular, we do deal in radians. So how am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to get my magic box out. I'm going to try to get this on camera so you all can see it. I always hate this reflection here. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my degree and I'm going to put it over the total. So 30 is what part of the total circle? We've already said that's 360. So I'm now going to take and 30 over 360, that is the percent or the proportion of the full circle, which, if I didn't say before, a hemisphere halfway around the circle is 1 pi, all the way around the circle is 2 pi. So what I want to do is I want to take that proportion and multiply it by 2. Hit my enter. And what if I get something like that? Well, it means that I have set my calculator up either to respond in decimal form or in auto form. So let's just say I have my calculator set to auto, and I'll show you how to do that in a sec. To get the fraction equivalent of that, I want to hit the math key. It's going to give me that. As you can see, fraction is already highlighted. So now all I need to do is hit the enter key. And it's telling me, oh, here comes the fraction. Hit me again. And I get my fraction. So 0.166 or 30 over 360 is equivalent to 1/6. And as long as I've got the calculator out here, I'm just going to go ahead and draw that in. So 1/6 would be 1/6 of pi, or to simplify, we're going to say pi over 6 is the equivalent of 1/6 pi. All right, showing you how to get to the auto mode of this, and chances are you already know this. I'm going to want to go to the mode key, bring that up, and I want to go to page 2. So you can either cursor all the way down, or I'm going to cursor up, take a little shortcut. It's not much shorter, and I'm going to go up here to where it says answers. And as you can see, the auto is flashing right now. So for the most part, it gives a decimal answer. But if I'm only working with fractions, I can cursor over to fraction and hit enter. And now it's going to give me all my answers in fractions. So let's look at it again. And as you might notice, I'm in the habit of putting parentheses around my fractions. You never know when you're going to need them. So it is just my habit to always use parentheses with division, basically. And we're going to multiply that by 2. Again, same operation we just did. It should give us a fraction answer. So there it is, 1/6. So now we don't have to go to the math page and ask it for a fraction answer. So that's totally up to you how you're going to want to do that. And basically the process is the same all the way to 60. This would be 60 over 360 times 2. Okay? So what happens when we get to quadrant number 2? Well, we draw on our previous knowledge. It is 30 degrees off the x-axis. Here again is still the x-axis. So my first tick, and I'm not going to draw the whole line here, guys. My first tick in this quadrant, let me get my, now we're good with green. Let me make that blue. We know we're going to have 3 of them, so I'm just going to go ahead and kind of eyeball them in here. So what would 30 degrees from there to there be? Well, it's just 180 plus 30. So this would be 210, another 15, 225, and another 15 would be 240. And let's just pick one. and set up the pi equivalent. And let's see, get this back to where we can see it again. Okay, so let's do 240 divided by 360 times 2. And what do we have? 4/3. So 240 would be or 4 pi over 3, basically. And that is the radian equivalent. Now, do we really need to do the other two? I don't think we do. Okay, I think you get the general idea. So let's move into, oh, and I don't know why I jumped over there, but let's go back to quadrant number 2, and I'm just going to eyeball these in. So again, pulling on my knowledge here, 30 degrees off the x-axis, there's a tick, there's another 15, and there's another 15. So in this case, it would be 180, measurement right here, 180 degrees, minus 30, because we're going the other way now. So then this would be 150, 135, minus 15, and this would be 120. And to get the radian equivalent, right there, magic box, will give it to you every time. All right, so going to quadrant 4, it's the same deal. Same deal. Nothing new, nothing new. I'm 30 off. I know I'm going to have 3. 1, 2, 3. Should have been blue. So 1, 2, 3. They're all 15 off. It's easier here to just subtract instead of, going all the way around and adding. In this case, it would just be 30 off from all the way around would be 360 minus 30. 330. So this first one would be 330 minus 15, because I'm going backwards on the unit circle, remembering that unit circle is always navigated going counterclockwise. When I go backwards, I'm going to be subtracting in this case because the degree measurement would be less. So this would be 315, and this would be 300. And again, for the radian, let's just pick one, 315 over 360 times 2, and that is going to give me 7/4. Pi. So when faced with this, now we have an easy way to draw on these measurements, the degrees and the radians. That's how we come up with those. Yes, you do need to remember this. Get this first one right. They're all based on 30 degrees off the x-axis. When I think in that manner, I can always come up with these measurements. And again, I subtracted here. I also actually subtracted here because this is 180. If I'm 30 here, it's 180 minus 30. I'm going backwards on the unit circle. So now I have my degrees and my radians. My part 2 here, guys, is going to be coming up with what is the coordinate pair for all these points. As you can see on this template, the coordinate points are on the outside here. How in the world to remember all those? Oh, you want the good news or do you want the better news? You only need to remember one coordinate pair. And you don't even need to remember all of that. The better news is you only need to remember 1/2 of one coordinate pair. In my next video, I'm going to show you how to do that. So keep up the great work, guys. God bless. Hopefully see you on part 2. Have any questions? Leave them in the comments. If you've got a better way or you see something I've screwed up, by all means, I have zero pride. Point that out to me. I hope this has helped you. Keep up the great work. Don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. God bless, and we will see you in part 2, I hope.